There is going to be a referendum, though, just after the election. Do you think it'll actually happen? After 2015, whatever happens, there won't be a referendum on our relationship with the EU or an in-out referendum. Before you go, don't forget, John, about the answer to our quiz. And the question was, which fictional spin doctor is said to be based on you? Right.
Because I think Malcolm Tucker.
Now, why do you think, though, you were supposed to be Malcolm Tucker? As we know, the man full of expletives. Is that because you're a man?
They got the I didn't disabuse them.
What about the leaked emails of your time in Australia when you were working with Julia Gillard? Some of them were rather rude, Mr McTurnan.
Yeah.
Do you think I shouldn't have written emails if they were going to be reprinted on the front page of one of the news? We'll leave it there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being our guest of the day. Now, let's look at what's on the political agenda in the week ahead. Well, school's out. The House of Commons rises and MPs go for their Christmas holidays. Well, joining us to discuss what they'll be doing before that referendum next year. Where do you think things stand for the two campaigns? Now, what about the economy, Sam? Because now we have the clear narrative, Labour talking about cost of living and the coalition, certainly the Conservatives wanting to focus on the bigger picture, on growth, on the macro, if you like. Is that how it's going to stay? Do you feel better off in 2015 than you did in 2010? We're joined now for the rest of the programme, trio of ladies, and we're also joined by the broadcaster and campaigner Esther Ranson. We're going to talk about the Care Bill, which is due to be debated in the House of Commons this afternoon. Esther Ranson, before we get on to the sort of details of the cap that everyone is talking about in terms of what you can get from the government to pay for your care, how well is Silverline working, which is the campaign that you look for? Well, the Care Bill, of course, will look, and we'll find out more from our other guests, but the Care Bill will look to some extent at the length of time of visits that are given to... Does that do it? A lot of old people or people on their own sometimes go to their GP because they just need somebody to talk to about things that they're worried about. How long do you think is needed for a carer to spend with an elderly person or somebody on their own?
Even if one of them is suffering from dementia.
And what about extending that length of time? You know, from 15 minutes even to half an hour. I mean, that would make a massive difference to lots of people. Do you think that should be a priority? Well, let's see how much security actually is being put around people's costs for care. Because as I understand it, the cap is at £72,000. Is that right?
From 2016.
Right, from 2016. My concern is what's included in the cap. That many of the costs that people incur will not be in that cap, will not be included, which means you'll have to spend far more before you actually breach the cap level and the government will step in to help you. Back to the level and what you would include in the cap. Get to the cap level. For most people, that's their home, that cap, though. Will it cover residential costs?
It doesn't cover hotel accommodation, but I might say, Lisa, it is an absolute 2006. You never argued. I've been absolutely clear.
Thank you so much. It's been fascinating, with all of you, actually, arguing away. Now, the government says it hasn't ruled anything out when it comes to airport expansion. Crucially, that could mean building an extra runway at Heathrow. Remember all those promises? Tomorrow, the Commission, which is looking at this, will publish an interim report. But could there be a split in the offing amongst senior Conservatives? George Osborne is said to favour expanding Heathrow. Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, is dead against the idea. The Conservatives promised to block an extra runway at the last election. But what about after 2015? Well, the Conservative MP for Richmond in West London is Zac Goldsmith. He told Newsnight last week that a change of position would be disastrous for the Prime Minister. And I'm sure he will. That was Zac Goldsmith. Harriet will win no Heathrow expansion, said David Cameron. Can you rule it out? Any expansion or another runway at Heathrow post-2015?
Well, obviously it hasn't happened.
But will it be disastrous for David Cameron if he's seen to renege, do an aerial U-turn, as Zac Goldsmith describes it, on something that he made absolutely clear would not happen if the Conservatives were in power? He
has set up this commission to look at the options,
and all of the options
certainly the terms of reference were...
What about Labour? I mean, Labour flip-flopped on this too, because however much technological advance there's going to be, there's not going to be that much in the next couple...
2015.
No, there's some certainty, Harriet will win, rather than pushing it into the long grass post-2015. Ed Miliband on this, bearing in mind he was the one that said no to it after the election.
Difficulties for Labour.
There certainly are political difficulties for all the parties.
We all find ourselves in that position, but the climate change commitment is very, very important.
Anyway, to more important things, of course, like buying your Christmas presents. Have you stocked the larder as we hurtle towards Christmas? We're all looking forward to kicking back and relaxing. Well, some of us anyway. Well, Keith Simpson, the Parliamentary Private Secretary to Foreign Secretary William Hague, has published his famous Foreign Office reading list for the Christmas holidays. So, what could be on the list? Is it 50 Shades or Charles Moore's biography of Margaret Thatcher? What could it be? Well, you don't have to wait any longer because there's new stuff to be... we interviewed Charles at the time, but there's a lot of new stuff to...
I mean, 100...
Just sort of a bit lighter than that.
Do you flick through them like this?
No,
Do you speed read them?
I can't stand that. No, I'm a fast reader.
And what about for you? Any of those take your
yes,
fancy?
Because, I mean, you know, Keith's list... And I,
So now it might be quite timely.
Well, I have some clues, and of course I was in love with Peter O'Toole.
You and everyone else.
That was perhaps not... I didn't go out of my way to... Doris.
Well done, Keith, because you're a little bit surrounded, aren't
Doris,
you?
we're going to have a selfie. I'm going to...
To scrap that photo, the Danish Prime Minister, after that. Harry?
Well, I must say that Keith does always very much intimidate all of us. But there was a book about travel.
Have you got a suggestion for him? Got 50 Shades of Grey, you could try that one.
Look, I've lived with this for 6... She left on a train.
Everyone say goodbye. Goodbye! Bye. That's it from all of us here.